Hi everyone. So I try to mind my business, but I see some of the alarming things that a lot of people out there say. Um yeah, so with that intro, let's talk about the Jussie Smollett situation. Um yeah, where do we start? I Similar to my Wendy Williams video, I just want to touch on a few points that I feel like the public is overlooking. And I know that the entire public isn't, being what I want to say. Oh, whatever. Questioning him when he was visibly attacked. He's got like injuries and he went to the hospital and that whole situation. But for those who are saying, "Oh, well, nothing happened. He just was dealing with some people off Grinder, or why was he out that late?" Blah blah blah. Um yeah, that stuff doesn't really matter because no one should be assaulting anyone else, whether you know them, whether you don't know them, whether it's 10 o'clock at night, whether it's 2 p.m. None of that matters. But I have kind of a whole impromptu list of things that I want to bring up, just random points, because I feel like there's some things that the general public maybe wouldn't know, and there's some things that I mean, unless you've been in a situation like that or known someone who's been in a situation like that, i.e. a celebrity or even a person, like a regular person who has been attacked and wasn't believed or whatever. Or perhaps it's happened to you yourself and you're kind of like, yeah, like it's people really need to knock it off, the whole "I don't believe you" and analyzing your situation, when the bottom line is someone committed a crime against you and you just want justice for that. Anyway, um so yeah, first point, and I'm just kind of rattling these off the top of my head after ranting to my brother and online to other people. Um yeah, first point, um a lot of people are saying, well, who goes out in sub-zero temperature at 2 p.m. and Subway restaurants aren't even open that late? False, false, and false. So I now, granted, I've not checked into the hours of the Subway that he was going to. I have read online. Someone actually did look it up, and they were saying that the hours say that it is like open around the clock or something like that. I haven't verified that myself. I tend to try to verify things independently before saying, yeah, this is what happened or it's not. So I'm just saying that that's what I have seen someone else say, and they supposedly looked it up. Very easy, like look up the location and the hours and whatever. Anyway, um, so yeah, I'm in a large city that has a cold winter. And in addition to that, I've also lived in Canada. I lived in Toronto, and I can tell you 100%, people do go out late as long as there's food open. Um, Not in droves though. People don't go out in droves, but it's not unusual for, people here and there to go out and get something to eat, to get a snack. People who smoke cigarettes or whatever might get cigarettes. Um, when I was in Canada, obviously it got really cold, and most things were in walking distance. Grocery store, main. Actually, there was a mall like down the street from me, literally like 1 or 2 blocks away. And there was a grocery store at the mall, and there were other stores, and so I could get like whatever. Either there was a hardware store, Canada's version of Home Depot. They call it Canadian Tire, not owned by the same people, but it's the same concept. I could need like a wrench. Now granted, the mall wasn't open past like 10 or 11 or something like that, but like I could go out at like a weird hour and get random stuff. And even like living in Atlanta, like I would go to Kroger at I've been to Kroger at like 3 in the morning, the grocery store down there. I used to love doing that. Well, I had like a love-hate relationship with that. Like sometimes I would be at home up working or something like that. And I would just like need to I want a snack, or maybe I ran out of bottled water, or I just felt like getting out of the house and I know there's going to be no one on the road and it's quiet and it's peaceful and I can, just like go to the store, walk around and grab something or whatever. I've done that a lot. And now, being where I am now, I just the other night, like it was freezing cold up here. No, it wasn't 30 below, but it was about like 5 degrees. And I debated, do I want DoorDash? Do I want to go and get snacks? Like I really just want snacks and I have like dinner food at home. But I love DoorDash. So I was kind of wanting to use the cold as an excuse. But I wrestled with it in my mind until like 10 o'clock at night or something. And I ended up just like walking to the grocery store. And now that I think about it, I think there were other people there too. And it like the wind chill was sub-zero. It was like -6, -10, negative something crazy wind chill factor because it was windy. But yeah, and 7-Eleven's right up the street. Sometimes I'll go to 7-Eleven, like if I'm up working on my laptop late or doing, I don't know, okay, I'm not even going to say doing video. Well, okay, I do videos late, but I'm not even going to act like I'm like working tirelessly on these videos. I don't edit. I feel bad for saying that, but it's the truth. But that's because I'm working tirelessly on other things, that I just don't have the energy right now, but I will, one day. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of like a bit of rambling, but I'm just saying that for me and for people who live in large cities where things are open pretty late and it gets cold on the regular, it's not unusual necessarily to go out. It's a matter of like how cold hardy you are, how willing you are to put up with the wind and all that stuff. And some of us are, believe it or not. So that's that. Like, can we put to rest the whole why was he out at 2 a.m. in the cold? He wasn't hungry. Like, whatever. It happens. It could. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible that he was going somewhere else or doing somewhere else. I'm saying that A, it's not as far-fetched as people think it is. And B, even if he was going to do something else, who cares? It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because someone attacked him against his will, and that is... that's the crime. Going out at night at 2 a.m. is not a crime. Anyway, and you know what, to put that into perspective, that's the equivalent of, well, why was that rape victim wearing that short skirt? Where was she? What was she doing? She was off to do something she had no business doing. And that is completely bogus. So like, yeah, let's stop doing that, please. So, that's point one. Point number two, you can tell I'm kind of like rattling this around in my head because it's late as usual. So, point number two, the whole, yeah, let's get into the whole, well, maybe he was meeting people off Grindr. Why? I mean, I guess I get why people could think that, but it's just so weird to me. Like, why is that even crossing your mind when this man has been attacked? He's been getting hate mail from like crazy, bigots and whatnot. Why does your mind even go there? Now, I understand some people are like, oh, well, it was a Grindr date gone wrong. Well, the point is that it went wrong, even if that's what it was. So, like, well, what is it? Like, what if he comes out and says, okay, I was going on a Grindr date? Then what? Like, there's still a crime that was committed. So, like, if he didn't consent to being beat up, crime. And what are you going to say at that point? See, I told you. Okay, what next? Like, what do you want exactly? And quite frankly, it's not any of our business. He doesn't have to tell us what he was doing. He just has to report the crime. So anyway, beyond that, that leads me into my next point, which I kind of just briefly forgot. Oh, okay, yeah. So people were saying that he might be into like some non-traditional activity with his partners, and that, whatever, maybe he likes being beaten up or whatever, and that was like what that was. Okay, common sense moment. If he's into that, why would he then go and report it and call the police and then go to the hospital? Why wouldn't he just go home and like go about his own little untraditional behavior loving way, and finish minding his business and like whatever. Like, why tons of people do, are into like things that are off the beaten path, and they don't file police reports. Filing a police report is what brings attention to it. And I think that's what people are missing. Presumably his manager, if that's what's been going on, his manager probably already knows, given the amount of time they spend together and whatnot. Even if the manager doesn't know, like if you were to come home, like there are domestic violence victims whose family and friends know their partners beat them up, and they won't even call the police. So if I'm just not inclined to believe that if he like liked being, like went and consented to someone doing that to him and then went back to his apartment or the hotel or wherever he was going, like I'm not inclined to believe that his manager or anyone else would make him call the police, because that is not in fact what happens when, when it's clear that somebody's been raped. Like 10% of the 90% of rapes go unreported or something like that. And we all, like, if we're all honest, we know, or many of us have heard or know of situations where someone was like being abused and it wasn't reported, and no one pushed that person to report it. And furthermore, no one took took it upon themselves, the onus upon themselves, to report it themselves. So why are people acting like he had to go to the police? That's not how this society works. If someone's being abused, or if someone's into, like no one, well, I just don't believe that someone saw scratches on his face and they were like, oh, I'm gonna force you to call the police and file a report. And furthermore, you can't make someone file a report. They have to consent to going on the record. I know that for a fact. With police. But, oh, well, actually, there's that. And also, granted, in some jurisdictions, the prosecutors can bring, I know with like rape type stuff, they can, which this wasn't a rape case, that, as far as we know, sometimes the prosecution can bring a case against the accused if, certain things happened in the act. But even in that case, they can't force the person who was victimized to file a report and put their name on it and give, an account of they can't force anyone to do that. So this was voluntary. It makes no sense that he would be into this stuff and then call up the police and just be like, okay, I'm gonna go to the hospital and get examined because I'm into this, and then I'm gonna report this to the police because I'm into this, when he could have just kept it quiet and kept his fetish or whatever out of public eye. I'm inclined to believe that that is what he would have done, what anyone would do, commonsensical, common sense, in applying common sense, if there was something that they were into that they wanted to hide. So yeah, that one just like completely falls flat for me. What else are people saying? So maybe he was going to get drugs. Again, who cares? Yes, it's illegal to get drugs, and yes, drugs are bad and all that stuff. But if you get attacked while you're on the way to get drugs, the fact that you were on the way to get drugs does not negate the fact that you were attacked. You can still report that to police. In fact, still, please do. If anyone watching this is in that situation, report it to the police. And you might want to hide the fact that you were going to buy drugs or whatever. And if you choose to do so, know that it's irrelevant and that you can, like, no one has the right to attack you. And that is the bottom line. And I'm just over this whole culture condoning violence against other people until it happens to you or your family member. And even some people, if it happens to them, they internalize it and don't report it because they think that it's not a big deal, when it is. Tangent. But I'm back on track. So another argument, is that, all right, well, let's like jump to, oh, wait, cameras. People are saying, well, the cameras would have caught it. How often do cameras catch assaults on film? That's not, I don't know. I assume that most people know this, but most assault and battery cases are not decided based on video evidence. In fact, video evidence is missing. Like, people aren't just like beating people up, on the streets especially if whomever is involved in this attack knew that that area is highly, there's a lot of surveillance in that area. Maybe they did drag him down an alley, or maybe, it was in kind of like a dark spot or a shadow or whatever the case may be. Or maybe like they called him, like in my video about being safe at night, the person could have like pretended to need help or called him or excuse me or something. No, I don't know why he would stop. Like I'm not going to go talk to somebody in the middle of the night. On a frigid, because like, hey, what are you doing out here and trying to make conversation with me? Not that it's weird that they're out, but I'm just way more careful and a lot less friendly at night. And in the daytime too, to be honest. I'm not gonna just like stop and help everybody, especially like a man. Anyway, yeah, and that's nothing to do with like gender bias. Just like go, please look at my staying safe at night video, and I talk about that and the theory behind women not stopping to help men, because it's kind of counterintuitive, and that's how a lot of people get caught up. So anyway, yeah, like we don't know, the Chicago is not completely covered by cameras. If it were, we would have images of the faces of those two dudes that it's got, that they were able to get footage of them walking down the street, like their backs. So like that in and of itself, do we assume that those guys don't exist, or that they don't have faces because the cameras didn't show that, you know? Also, what else? Covered the subway, the cameras, the guys on the thing. Um, yeah, so I was gonna jump into okay. Calling the manager first. I've repeated this so many times that I don't know. In my head, I feel like everyone knows this, but clearly I have, like whatever. I've only talked to a limited amount of people, but um calling his manager first instead of just going to the police or going to security, whatever. That's actually very common among celebrities. Celebrities, because you got to think about this. It's a totally different thing. First of all, most celebrities, want privacy above everything else, even and especially if a crime or something has been committed against them, especially if the person's still like on the run. The last thing you want is word that you went and told someone. Maybe if that person knows you or is stalking you, you don't necessarily want word to get out before you decide like what to do next, or like if you're gonna like whatever you're gonna do to protect yourself. You kind of want to keep it private. Also, there's always people who want pictures of celebrities in compromising positions. They work at hotels. They might work at the police department. They might be down the street, whatever. So I understand him kind of hurrying past the security at the front desk and going, to a private place and talking to his manager or his friend or whomever was up there. Calling the manager first. Celebrities do that because like, I mean, even staying in a hotel, a lot of times they use fake names, or have someone else do like the reservation. They're not just like you and me where we can call up and nobody's gonna be like trying to snap selfies or, snap selfies with us or candid pictures of us going to the police department. I mean, I'm sure that he was shaken and rattled and just needed someone to talk to, because regular people do that. It's not uncommon for a regular person to encounter, like trauma that's not exactly life threatening. Like someone beats you up, but you're, like your leg isn't hanging off or whatever, or you're not like bleeding out or instantly or whatever. You haven't been shot or anything. You might call someone like your mom or your dad or your friend, just to let someone know what's going on in case something does happen to you, and just for comfort. But also if you're a celebrity, they do that to sort of get someone on the case and handling it, maybe get someone to advise them. Should I go directly to the police, or like, what should we do? Can you call them? Can you have them come here so that we don't cause a scene? So all that makes sense. Like, I take it that if he was able to walk back to the hotel, he knew that he wasn't gonna die. He may have been in a lot of pain, but he probably knew he wasn't gonna die and didn't need to call someone right then and there, but, could call his manager back or like go up to the room or whatever he did. So to me, that's not suspect. And in addition to that, Yeah, so calling the manager that wasn't strange. Oh, so there in talking about that, I remembered some other things. So like, I read that he told like the police came to him or to his friend's apartment or whatever. I understand that because you don't have people all around the police station seeing you as a celebrity trying to give a report, file a report about what's happened to you when it hasn't been leaked to the press yet and all this stuff. Um, so I understand him like wanting to talk to the police in a private residence. The fact that he asked the police to turn off their body cameras, again, that tells me that he was concerned about privacy. He didn't want any footage of him in that vulnerable state leaking out, probably. Um, and then yeah. And honestly, I think privacy was also the reason he kind of like I imagine him hurrying past the front desk or security or whomever was there after he got back to whatever building he was walking to from the subway. Uh finally I'm going to touch on him not wanting to surrender his phone. I don't blame him. In fact, in some cases, I think like half of the people out here, if they really thought about it, they wouldn't hand their phone over. Why? And I've said this like online in comments a lot. You like handing your phone over to the police gives them access to everything you've ever done that has involved your phone. Everybody you might have threatened, you might have but not meant it or whatever. People you cursed out. If your cousin's a drug dealer and was trying to sell, like whatever. If you do drugs and was talking to, trying to pick the stuff up or whatever. Like anything, people you might know, if you've got some sketchy friends that might be caught up in some stuff, like all that stuff becomes fair game to the police. And they might not, you might think, well, that they can't use this for this case. Yeah, but they could hold on to it, or they could call you in for something completely unrelated, or they could, the police aren't lawyers necessarily. They might leak something to the press that you don't want to get out. There's all your photos in your phone. Some of you like to take nudes. Do you want the police to have your nudes? And um, furthermore, they don't have to look at his phone just to verify the time of the call. They could look at the manager's phone. They could get the call log from the phone company. Regular everyday people can do that. Or at least like, a few years ago, you could log on and pull up your phone record or whatever. So I too would just be like, oh, I'll send you the call log, or hey, I give you permission to contact Verizon. And to get the call log from them or whatever. I don't know. Well, I don't even have anything to hide really, but I just like the thought of I don't know, them like having access to everyone I've ever talked to from this phone. Little weird. And yeah, and you don't want the media like, well, it turns out he knows this person and they were talking about XYZ and could that be like, no, it's just, it's too much. It's too much. And I get it. And if those people who attacked him hadn't contacted him by phone and have nothing to do with the phone, then really it's kind of irrelevant. Like the manager has already corroborated that they were talking at a certain time. If they really don't believe the manager or whatever, they could just get the phone record without the actual phone. So I'm kind of with him on that. He doesn't have to turn over a darn thing. And to me, that does not constitute failing to cooperate with the investigation. It's like the investigation can go on. There's so many ways for you to get that little piece of information that you claim you want to seek. So yeah, that's about it. I've not been sleeping. So, or I have, but just not at good, healthy times. So, I'm going to end this video here. It's already past 20 minutes anyway. But yeah, like my videos, please. I'm starting to finally get more views. And share my videos, comment below. Keep it respectful, keep it classy. And I will see you again in the next video. Let me know if you enjoy this content on kind of current events and me bringing sort of the legal perspective, well, this is kind of how celebrities move perspective or whatever, because I have worked with some famous people. And yeah, that's about it. So I will see you in the next video. Take care.